images of red and yellow confetti falling on green and silver helmets is one the Eagles have not forgotten. Those gut punch memories will surely fuel them this week as they ready for their rematch with the Kansas City Chiefs. It will be the 9th time there's a Super Bowl rematch in the following regular season. The Super Bowl loser has won only 2 of the previous 8 matchups. All right, let's huddle up as we welcome you to Birds Huddle, powered by PointsBet, a Fanatics experience. Barrett Brooks, Michael Barkann. Juices will surely be flowing for this one for the players, Barrett. And when you hear a stat such as the one I just mentioned, nothing to do with the Eagles right now, they haven't played this game yet. Why do you think that is? 2-6 against the Super Bowl champ.
It's the who's your daddy effect, more so than anything. I mean, you're the big dogs on the block. You are still the Super Bowl champions at this point in the year. Until they crown somebody else, you're still those guys. You're those dudes. And I think that's the biggest thing that, comes from it. But I'll say this. Understanding how things went in the offseason, how that team got picked apart like every other team, like the Eagles did, when everybody comes and scrapes the bones off, taking all your great players, taking all the great coaches and all that stuff from your team. I think there's a little bit of a leveling of the talent level, and I think the Eagles might have jumped over this Chiefs team.
Jumped over the Chiefs. Time for Barrett's three-point stance. Number 1, Jalen Hurts will look even better after the bye. He's playing at a high level already, but he just had 1 week off to rest that ailing knee. What do you think?
Well, he's already playing on a bum knee anyways, so the mere fact he had a week to recover, actually it's 2 weeks to recover because you had the bye week and then you got this week heading into the game, and it's a Monday night. So that's even 1 more day's rest that he gets on that knee. And to tell you about Jalen's one of those guys, he's going to maximize all the treatment and all the effort he can to come back to 100% as you can going into this season. He will make sure he optimizes what he can do to his body to make sure he's going to be, running on all 8 cylinders going into this game. He understands what's at stake. This is one of those pivotal games that you got to go out there and say, look, I am the big kid on the block now. I'm the new team that, that everybody's going to look up to. It's no longer going to be the Chiefs now. Yes, you got a great quarterback, but, hey, I'm a great quarterback also. So he's going to use this as more so fuel to feed the fire and show everybody it's a reason why I got that $250 million, because I'm that good and I'm that good of a leader on this team to lead them. And also he went back and looked at the last 9 games that they had. He researched the last 9 games. He looked, especially paying attention to that Jets game, on how he didn't play the way he's supposed to be played. And that's going to be burning in him because he's going to say, you know what, I could have won that game for us, and I didn't. So he's going to use this as fuel to go forward. So, yes, there's a lot of things that he did in this offseason that doesn't necessarily mean he was off. He was on. He was doing all the treatment he can, looking at all the film he can, making himself a better version than he was. So best believe it wasn't just an off week for Jalen Hurts.
Stance number 2, Travis Kelce is the Chiefs' only reliable receiving option. This year is year 2 following the Tyreek Hill trade, and the Chiefs continue to search for a true second receiver option. Who they got?
Right now, you're going to say Kelce is the guy. There's no better tight end in the league. He is the best tight end in the league. But you look at those numbers after that. You see the young rookie, Rashee Rice from Alabama A&M, by way of Houston now. He went to Houston for that last year. He's a really good receiver, big receiver, 6 foot, about 200 pounds. He's found a nice little mix with their quarterback now. So, at this point, he's probably the guy that I would say they would go to the most. Look at the stats. He's got half the stats, catches that Kelce have, but he has half more than all the other guys that, that Mahomes looks at. I also think that a guy we're not talking about is Noah Gray, the other tight end. Maybe they run a little more 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. And he could be fuel. He could fuel that offense also. The biggest thing with their offense is if you stop Kelce, you stop that offense. But you're not going to be able to stop Kelce. You can limit everybody else around him, because I don't believe in McCole Hardman. I don't believe in Sky Moore. I don't believe in Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I don't believe in Tony Kadarius Toney. I don't believe in those guys. I believe that if Kelce can do it, he's going to do it, but everybody else you can kind of put the handcuffs on.
Even Justin Watson, the kid from Penn.
I think they can put him too. They'll put they'll put the clamps on all those guys.
Number 3, the Chiefs won't be able to run on the Eagles again. Won't happen. In the Super Bowl, you'll recall, Kansas City ran the ball 26 times for 158 yards. To what degree will that part of KC's offense be shut down?
Nope. At this point, and we're talking about 9 games into the season, opponents still haven't run over 600 yards against this defense. You know what I'm saying? They've limited teams to under 600 yards. Out of the 9 teams they played, they don't even have over 600 yards on them. So I truly believe they can stop this. They're going to stop that running game. It's not like they're playing in the Super Bowl where they were slipping and sliding. There's going to be none of that. They're going to go out there and open up a can of whoop on them. They're stopping them. Big Davis had another game to rest. He's going to be sitting in the middle of that 50 defense. Him line up on the nose. You got, Fletcher Cox on one side. I mean, you got the rookie Carter on the other side. They're going to stop that run offense, period. And if you could stop Isaiah Pacheco, you're stopping that offense because he is a pivotal guy in that offense. The way he runs the rock, he's a, straight ahead, one-step cut, gets downhill. Very good player. I like him a lot. Him coming from, Rutgers? Really good guy they picked up in the 7th round. He's going to be pivotal. If they can stop him, they can stop that entire offense.
Rutgers by way of Vineland, New Jersey. But open up a can of whoop.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. They're going to stop the run. We're not worried about that. They're going to stop the run. All they have to do is put a little pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and they'll be okay.
Bird's Eye View presented by Ocean Casino and Resort Atlantic City. Eagles and Chiefs matching up this Monday night, ladies and gentlemen, out of the University of Michigan, former Eagles wide receiver, Jason Avant. Key question for you, my friend. Andy Reid, in his career, is 28-4 coming off the bye, including the playoffs. What makes him so good in that spot? Because we're talking 875 win percentage.
Well, what makes him good is that, like most coaches go back over the film. Like you have to go in and you have to self-scout. What makes him good, he recognizes the things that they do good and he kind of optimizes them going forward. And he also realizes the mistakes that they make as coaches and playing guys out of position and how to get guys into the offense more effectively. So those are things that he does, but also he looks at the opposing opponent and cracks down and figures out their weakness and what they're trying to do schematically. And when he does that, he's the best in the league. And usually after that bye week, it's a very tough position in order to get a win against.
Do you know the last 7 matchups between the Chiefs and the Eagles have all been won by a guy named Andy Reid? Last 7, 3 with the Eagles and 4 with the Chiefs. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Big Red was asked about his post-bye success yesterday. Take a listen.
There's plenty of things we can work on, and it's all great what the record is and that, but the main thing that we don't care about that. We care about improving in all 3 phases, and there's room to do that.
I kind of miss him. Barrett, how much and in what areas does having extra time to prepare help a team?
Well, number 1 is health. That's the biggest thing. But number 2, just like, Big Red said, you got to make sure you optimize, watching film and understanding what you don't do. And once you figure out what you don't do best, correct those things. A lot of people, don't look at things as specific to what they're doing wrong. But also, just like Avant said, these guys, he goes in there and sees how can he optimize the things that they do well. And a lot of times they forget about what they do well and they don't go back to those things. When you can optimize getting your players and put them in positions where, all right, you got Noah Gray, one of the better tight ends in the league. You haven't run a lot of 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. But you see this guy as a player. And if you put him out there with Kelsey, of course they're going to put a lot of attention on Kelsey, which will leave Noah Gray out there wide open a lot of the times. And he's one of those guys that can take it the distance. He's a pretty good tight end that people don't really talk about.
Yeah. Jace, in general, week to week, where is Andy Reid's presence most felt? In the locker room, practice field,
Well, so it's much different from when he was in Philadelphia. When he was in Philadelphia later on in his career, when I had him, he was more of a general manager and the team overseer. In Kansas City, when I went to Kansas City, he was back in the classroom every day, installing, every day talking to the players. He's mostly felt on offense as far as being basically the offensive coordinator, talking to the quarterback. The quarterback and him are super tight, and they go over everything so they can be on the same page heading into the game, and he's just an extension of Coach Reid. And I'll tell you this from just experience, he hadn't had a quarterback in the history of his quarterbacks that has more ability than Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
He's able to see things that most quarterbacks that he's had because they run the same exact offense. It's just the quarterback has more ability.
And he does more special things, his sidearm and the way he can, play. Not to say McNabb. McNabb was a great quarterback, running the offense, but Patrick Mahomes is great at a lot of stuff as far as reading stuff, but his ability to go out there and elongate plays, do those extra things, no-look passes, stuff like that.
Yeah. You play quarterback like Magic Johnson? I mean, it's unbelievable. Or Steph Curry, however you want to look at it, he's amazing. Jace, going into the Super Bowl last year, you spoke a lot about the gap in coaching experience between the Chiefs staff and the Eagles staff, and now you've got Sean Desai in charge of the defense. How does that matchup play out?
Well, I think it's less about Sean Desai and more about the Eagles personnel in this situation. And because Sean is doing a good job, he's blitzing a little bit more. The guys are getting home, but he's been hindered by a lot of the players, of guys getting hurt, Avante Maddox, especially linebackers being hurt, like guys shuffling in and out, Justin Evans, a bunch of guys shuffling in and out. So he's been hurt by that. So I wouldn't put this game on Sean Desai. He's going to be outmatched when it comes to Coach Reid and all of their coaching experience over there. A lot of guys that have been in the league 2 decades or so you can't replace that. But what you can do is make sure that your guys are ready to play, and hopefully the defensive front can sabotage this Chiefs offense. That's what you're hoping, that our defensive line can get after the 2 tackles that are struggling.
Speaking of the defensive line, the Eagles' pass rush was famously shut out by the Chiefs and the slipshod turf in the Super Bowl. Will they be able to get home on Monday night?
I think they will, because just like, Avant said, these guys up front aren't as good as what he had last year. And looking at, the scheme schematically that they have, they can put their guys in better positions. Plus, the mere fact they have better guys at those positions. Jalen Carter, you're not going to find too many guys who can rush like them. They have a guy, in Sean Jones, he can rush, but not like Jalen Carter. This young kid can play. And then when you add the maturation of Sweat and how Hassan Reddick has picked it up and now one of the in-game closers in the 4th quarter as far as pass rushing, they are really gifted right now, guys rushing the passer. They can be very, very key in it. Now when you add, the slot corner being here and 2 really good outside corners and a really good safety, I think it's going to be even better. And you can open up that playbook even more on the defensive side of the ball.
At the same time, the Chiefs' defense has come up to match virtually the Chiefs' offense. Other side of the ball, Chiefs' D is much improved, but the Eagles still have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Can those receivers, Mr. Receiver, put up big numbers at Arrowhead?
Yeah, they can, but this is going to be a tough matchup. And I'll say this, is that the Chiefs' defense is much better than the Chiefs' offense. It doesn't match. The Chiefs' defense is much better. That's the pride of their team. They're first in a lot of categories. They're number 2 in points, averaging 16 points a game, right? They're first at not giving up rushing touchdowns. They're top in the league when it comes to yards per game. So these guys get after. Mike Dana get after it up front. Karlaftis gets after it up front. Chris Jones gets after it up front. And on the secondary, they got a bunch of guys that play fast, they know where the ball is, and Spagnuolo's doing a great job. But here's the thing, one-on-one matchups against A.J. Brown, they don't have a guy at that level. One-on-one matchups against Devontae Smith, they don't have guys at that level. But if we can't protect up front, it can be a long day. And they have exotic pressures with Spagnuolo coming from Jim.
I like their linebackers, too. Your linebackers, they got Willie Gay. You got guys that can go out there and really play at a high level. And that's what I'm looking for. How can they take advantage of those guys on that? They got young guys on the outside, but they played and stepped up last year, and I think they're doing a good job this year also.